So, greetings, everybody. My name is Adam Tinsley, and I'm going to discuss our Sidman reading, the coercive and its fallout, or coercion and its fallout. And let's begin. So, as I was reading, I kind of took into account what are the essential questions that come from this reading. So, the first question from chapter 1 that I was thinking of is Sidman really asking us what are the behaviors that are under aversive control that we have in our everyday life? For example, if you didn't pay your rent and nobody was going to forcibly remove you from your house if you didn't do so, would you continue to not pay your rent? So again, it's that aversive stimuli of somebody evicting you from the premises, driving your behavior or maintaining the behavior of paying your rent. Uh, the same would go for your car note. If nobody were going to repossess your car, would you maintain the behavior of paying your car note or submitting your car note every month? Um, so, how does the way that you make certain requests resemble coercion? Right. So, think about the police telling you to stop speeding or you'll get a ticket, as we might see as we're driving on the Beltway, for instance, versus drive safely. Right. And so the ticket and the presentation of that aversive stimuli, right, might drive our behavior of driving within the speed limits versus driving safely. Right, it's another way of saying the same thing because the speed limits are an attempt to keep everybody who drives on the beltway safe. So, how many things like that in our environment signal us to behave in a way that avoids unwarranted consequences rather than the desired results? Again, getting a ticket versus driving safely. All right. So, some of the things that might be in the book that you might read are obey the law and go to jail. Law enforcement agencies pay attention to us only when we've done something punishable. All right. So that's really the crux of the first few pages. Um, Again, within those first few pages, we're talking about threats, right? Aversive stimuli that maintain our behavior. So, would you be more likely to pay your car note if the loan officer gave you $30 off the principal every time you made a timely payment? So, let's looking at it. There's not a threat there. They're receiving reinforcement for paying our car note on time. Or even look at it like this. So, which doctor do you want to see? Doctor One. Doctor One tells you, look, if you don't adopt a low fat diet, you're going to have a stroke in about 2 weeks or a month. Or would you rather see Doctor Two, who tells you, look, I'm going to prescribe you 30 minutes of exercising, maybe walking 30 minutes a day, and I'm going to give you this low fat cookbook, and then I want you to visit me in 2 weeks. All right, I want you to use meals or cook meals based on the recipes in this cookbook and walk 30 minutes a day and see me in 2 weeks. Doctor One is using the threat of stroke and maybe even death. That's the aversive side effect. Whereas Doctor Two is telling you the behavior and the desired result, right? I want you to cook more healthy meals and exercise. Those are the behaviors that I want you to do, as opposed to eat low eat low carb or low fat diets just because you don't want to have a stroke. So some environments that we operate in are unavoidable as far as the aversive stimuli is concerned. So nature shapes our behavior through the consequences of exposure to environmental conditions. For example, when it rains, we seek shelter to keep from getting wet. When it's cold, we seek shelter again for warmth. And when it's sunny and hot, we seek shade for relief from the sun. So again, getting wet is our aversive stimuli versus warmth. So we're being coerced by the environment and the natural ramifications from being in those particular environments under those conditions. So nature is unpredictable in a lot of ways, and we're reacting to the coercive effects due to that unpredictability in a lot of cases. Um, and another example of that, of the coercive effects of our natural environment, is maybe some internal things. So when we have appendicitis or some naturally occurring ailments within our body, maybe a cold or what we experience from aging, that can certainly have coercive effects to tell us to go to the doctor and have an operation, remove our appendix, or get prescribed some antibiotics. So we're certainly reacting and making different choices for our health based on what we believe our body is telling us or communicating with us. So again, we're trying to avoid being coerced, right? That's what we're looking to not have in our life. So due to our unwillingness to continuously deal with aversive stimuli, we pay people and we allocate resources to avoid these types of things. So we pay banks so that we can stay sheltered with our houses, and pharmaceutical companies to keep us healthy and do research and give us medicine when we go to them. We also divert resources to clothing stores to avoid being naked. So when we're out in the elements, when it's cold, when it's raining, we have jackets, we have coats, we have windbreakers to avoid the effects of that weather. So society has dedicated extensive resources so that we can collectively avoid the effects of the environmental coercion, and reduce our vulnerability to aversive stimuli from the environment. So coercion beyond the physical world. So more so because of the impact of the environment, um, civilizations have anthropomorphized environmental characteristics. So created gods of the oceans, fire, of the wind, in certain civilizations and certain religions. Interpretations of the elements are used to explain the existence of natural phenomena. So God's wrath, right? God struck down everybody with fire and ice and lightning. So there's been religious interpretation of this coercive effect of the environment. And then we've, in language and expressive language especially, we've synonymized environmental characteristics with adjectives, such as just giving me a cold look, or this person has a sunny disposition. So language has been affected by the coercive effects of the environment. One of the more prevalent coercive factors, according to Sidman, is social coercion. So we've gone from the environment, the gods, and our bodies, and the internal coercive things, to now the coercion brought about by society. One of the things that Sidman talks about is how individuals with disabilities early on were punished because they weren't normal, and it was they aversive control was used to teach people how to act normal as opposed to reinforcement. So in a lot of different ways, not just that specific example, but social coercion has been accepted as natural. So social coercion measures are some of the most common aspects of our environment to influence our behaviors, and the whole first chapter spirals into what appears to be an argument about free will and determinism. So, are we truly free if we are constantly being coerced by society and the environment? Um, and this is one of the arguments that Skinner made. Not necessarily that we weren't free, but the coercive effects on us. So here go my two open-ended questions.